The All Blacks may have secured a convincing 38-21 victory over the Stormers in Cape Town, but the final score does not tell the full story of what happened at DHL Stadium. New Zealand entered the match as the clear favourites, and many expected Dave Rennie's side to take control from the opening minutes. Instead, they were pushed into a genuine contest by a determined Stormers team that refused to be intimidated. For more than an hour, the home side exposed weaknesses in the All Blacks' performance, particularly their discipline, accuracy, and ability to maintain control when the pressure started to build. Eventually, New Zealand found another gear and pulled away in the final quarter. But before that late surge, the Stormers had made the All Blacks uncomfortable, forcing them to work extremely hard for their victory. One of the biggest talking points was Beauden Barrett. The experienced All Blacks playmaker entered the match with a huge reputation and years of international experience behind him. However, this was not the kind of dominant performance many expected from a player of his caliber. At important moments, New Zealand lacked the control and precision normally associated with Barrett, and that will certainly be one of the areas Dave Rennie and his coaching staff will want to examine. The match itself began perfectly for the All Blacks. New Zealand immediately used their physicality at the set piece, and Samisoni Taukei'aho became the first player to score a try in this new chapter of the rugby's greatest rivalry tour. The All Blacks built pressure through their rolling maul, and Taukei'aho eventually crashed over the line. At that stage, it looked as though the visitors might be heading towards a comfortable evening. But the Stormers had no intention of simply defending and hoping for the best. Under head coach John Dobson, the Cape Town side attacked the All Blacks with intensity. They challenged New Zealand at the breakdown, competed aggressively at set pieces and looked for opportunities whenever possession came their way. Suddenly, the All Blacks were being forced into uncomfortable decisions, and their discipline became a major problem. Anton Lienert-Brown was sent to the sin bin after a dangerous tackle, leaving New Zealand temporarily reduced to 14 men. The Stormers immediately sensed an opportunity. They increased the pressure and appeared to have crossed the line through Andre Hugo Venter, but the TMO review ruled that the try could not stand. However, the Stormers continued to attack. Eventually, the pressure produced the breakthrough. And once again, it was the remarkable Deon Fourie who stepped forward. Approaching his 40th birthday, Fourie showed that experience can still make an enormous difference at the highest level. The Stormers created another powerful maul, and Fourie finished the move to bring the home side level at 7 points apiece. The momentum had changed. The All Blacks were still the favourites, but they were no longer dictating the match. Every possession became important, and every mistake carried consequences. New Zealand managed to respond before half-time. A well-constructed attacking move eventually created the opportunity for Simon Parker, who finished the attack and restored the All Blacks' advantage. New Zealand went into the interval ahead, but there was very little between the two teams. The Stormers had already shown that they were capable of causing problems. And after the restart, they proved it again. The home side came out with renewed energy and quickly put the All Blacks under pressure. Then came another memorable moment involving Deon Fourie. The veteran forward won a crucial breakdown penalty before helping create the opportunity for Sibalu Sinatla. The move opened a gap in the All Blacks' defense. Sinatla accelerated through it, found the space he needed and finished with a spectacular somersault over the try line. DHL Stadium erupted. The Stormers had leveled the contest once again, and suddenly New Zealand were facing a serious challenge. For Dave Rennie, this was an important test of his team's mentality. Winning comfortably is one thing. Finding a way to win when the opposition continues to fight for every meter is something completely different. For approximately 60 minutes, the Stormers matched the All Blacks in intensity. They refused to allow New Zealand to establish complete control, and they continued to attack whenever they saw an opening. But the Stormers were also dealing with significant problems of their own. Injuries to Imad Khan, Ruhan Nel and Dewald Juvenage disrupted their plans and forced John Dobson to make difficult adjustments. The Stormers had selected a 6-2 bench split, and eventually that flexibility became extremely important. Hakjiva Dayamoni was required to move towards the wing, and as the match progressed, fatigue began to affect the Stormers. That was exactly when the All Blacks finally found the opening they needed. New Zealand began to increase the tempo, The Stormers had spent so much energy defending and attacking that their defensive structure was beginning to show signs of weakness. Then Rico Ioane struck. In the 66th minute, Ioane broke through and gave the All Blacks the momentum they had been searching for. Suddenly, the match began to move in New Zealand's direction. The Stormers were still fighting, but the pressure was becoming increasingly difficult to absorb. Then Leroy Carter added another try. And soon after, Josh Morby crossed the line as well. 3 tries in a short period completely transformed the contest. A match that had been level and fiercely competitive suddenly became a comfortable advantage for New Zealand. The scoreboard moved rapidly in favor of the All Blacks, and the visitors finally looked like the team many had expected to see from the beginning. But there was an important lesson hidden inside that final score. The All Blacks had won by 17 points. They had scored 6 tries. They had finished strongly. But for much of the match, they had not looked completely comfortable. Their discipline created opportunities for the Stormers. Their accuracy was inconsistent. Their attack did not always have the control expected from a team of this quality. And they struggled to put the match beyond doubt until the final quarter. Those are issues Dave Rennie will know cannot simply be ignored. The next challenges on the rugby's greatest rivalry tour could be even more demanding. The Stormers had shown the other South African teams exactly how to make New Zealand uncomfortable. The Sharks, Bulls and Lions will have been watching closely. They now know that the All Blacks can be pressured. They know that mistakes can be forced. And they know that if New Zealand are denied the opportunity to establish their rhythm, the game can become much more competitive than the rankings might suggest. That is perhaps why this victory could prove more valuable than a routine win. The All Blacks were forced to experience adversity. They were forced to respond after conceding momentum. And eventually, they showed enough quality to take control. For Rennie, that character will be one of the positives. But the performance also highlighted areas that must improve. And once again, attention will return to Beauden Barrett. A player with Barrett's experience is naturally expected to influence matches. When the All Blacks are struggling for control, the expectation is that their senior playmakers will help settle the team, make the right decisions and create opportunities. Against the Stormers, Barrett did not consistently dominate the contest in the way many expected. That does not mean one difficult performance defines him. Far from it. But in a tour filled with major challenges, the All Blacks will need their most experienced players to produce when the pressure is highest. For the Stormers, meanwhile, the result should not overshadow what they achieved. John Dobson's team showed courage, physicality, and attacking ambition. They did not simply try to survive against the All Blacks. They challenged them. They forced them to defend. They created genuine scoring opportunities. And for a long period, they looked capable of producing a major surprise. The performance of Deon Fourie was particularly impressive. His age may have been one of the talking points before the match, but once the action began, it was his experience that stood out. His contribution to Sibalu Sanatla's try demonstrated exactly what experienced players can bring. He recognized the opportunity, won the breakdown battle and helped turn possession into an attacking opportunity almost immediately. That kind of intelligence can be extremely valuable against international opposition. The Stormers ultimately ran out of energy, but they can take plenty of confidence from the performance. For the All Blacks, the message is equally clear. A victory is always important, but the manner of the victory matters too. New Zealand eventually found the answers. They produced a powerful final quarter. They punished tired defenders. And they demonstrated why they remain one of the most dangerous teams in world rugby. But Cape Town also exposed weaknesses. The All Blacks will need to improve their discipline. They will need greater accuracy. They will need better control during difficult periods. And their senior players, including Beauden Barrett, will be expected to step forward when the pressure increases. The beauty of this kind of tour is that there is no better environment for discovering those weaknesses. A comfortable match can hide problems. A difficult match exposes them. And the Stormers certainly exposed a few. The All Blacks leave Cape Town with the victory, but they also leave with questions. Can they maintain their discipline against stronger opponents? Can they control matches for the full 80 minutes? Can their experienced players consistently deliver when the pressure rises? And can Dave Rennie turn the lessons from Cape Town into improvements before the next major challenge? Those questions will now follow New Zealand into the rest of the tour. The Stormers may have lost 38-21, but for more than an hour they showed that the All Blacks are not invincible. New Zealand eventually pulled away. They finished the job, but the Stormers made them earn it. And that could be the most important story coming out of Cape Town. The All Blacks have the win. The Stormers have the respect. And the teams waiting for New Zealand next have been given a very clear warning about where the opportunities may lie. The rugby's greatest rivalry tour is only getting started, and after what happened at DHL Stadium, the next chapter could be even more fascinating.